Good day, everyone. Yeah, I'm currently in Bogota, but this is a work that was developed basically in Cardiff University in the lab of Penelope Lewis in Kubrick. So basically, previous panelists, they already gave a nice explanation of what is sleep and basically non-REM sleep. Just to summarize, we know that non-REM sleep have the maximal activity of slow EEG frequencies. So look at this hypnogram. We have the on non-REM have this nice detection of spindles and slow oscillations, and we know that they are critical for memory consolidation and neural cleanup of toxins. Now about REM sleep, is characterized by the rapid movement of the eyes and is characterized also by the low muscle tone, a mixed EEG frequency. But we don't really know what's happening during REM sleep and basically what is the function of REM sleep in memory consolidation. That's what we are very interested in. So the problem is that evidence of REM sleep and memory is very inconsistent in human research. There are some previous works that say that memory basically from procedural memory components are related to increasing of time in REM or correlated with the eye movements, but it's not really clear and how what is happening there. There are also different hypotheses. One of the hypotheses that the interleaving of REM and REM sleep may promote complex and analog problem solving. But as I said, there is not really any clue what's happening there. So we wonder whether studying the memory function of REM sleep is problematic because it's very hard to detect any patterns from the REM sleep as compared to non-REM sleep. So we were thinking maybe if we want to study the memory function of REM sleep, we want to control the REM period without breaking the sleep continuity. But this is something that is not new. Basically, from the 80s until the years 2000, there were several studies looking at the stimulation during REM sleep. Basically, they showed that by applying very short click sounds during REM, there were some changes in the time of sleep, of REM sleep, changes in the density of saccades, and also changes in the phasic and tonic sleep. But there's also very interesting finding here is that with the sound stimulation during REM, there was an increase of the spikes of PGO waves densities in the bones. This is in cat studies. Nevertheless, since the years 2000, there were not much studies about that. It was completely forgotten about this kind of stimulations. So we wanted to know, with the new findings of memory consolidation, how can we use this technique of using sounds to control REM sleep. So what we knew from these studies is that stimulating REM sleep modifies sleep patterns from humans, cats, and rats, that the number of REM events decreases with the stimulation. The REM stage duration was increased in some of those studies, and the REM stage was also a little bit more segmented. But now we wanted to know whether applying the same technique, we could also have any changes in the cognitive performance after sleep. So what we did was applying a counterbalance protocol in 20 people. And basically, in one of the nights, we don't do any kind of stimulation. One of the other nights, do the stimulation, REM sleeps. We take all the REM sleep periods, and we only detect the eye movements, and we apply very short sounds, look to the saccades of the eyes. Also, we provide two tasks before and after the sleep, and for 3 different tasks. The first is a psychomotor vigilance task, which is very common in sleep studies. Secondly, a visual discrimination task and a mirror tracing task. In these 2 tasks, the discrimination task and the mirror tracing task, had been previously related to the in any way to REM sleep. So what we found is that the stimulation during REM decreases the number of saccades, as the previous studies showed before, but we didn't find any changes in the time in REM sleep. We found a very short increase of frequency of sleep, but I mean, this is still it's very close to not being significant. So we have to be attention of that. And okay, so for the EEG, of course, we found ERP. Basically, the stimulation decreases and the activity of the EEG basically in parietemporal areas. And we look at the frequencies, we found main factors. We found that there is increasing of beta activity after the stimulation, around 200 milliseconds after stimulation, and also a decrease of theta activity in after around 1 second after the stimulation. This increase of the beta activity is maximal in the central areas, whereas the decrease of theta activity is maximal also in frontal central areas. But what's happening with the behavior, right? Okay, so for the PBT, we didn't find like a very huge changes in the PBT, which is quite good. And also mirror tracing task, we found that the stimulation during REM saccades decreased the change of overnight performance of the task. Basically, people who were not stimulated were better in the mornings after the stimulation, after non-stimulation, whereas people who, the nights that were not stimulated, the changes were not significant, were not great. Now, we look at the sleep architecture and the behavior of the mirror tracing task. We found that when we don't make any stimulation, there's a great relationship with the NREM and REM sleep stages, whereas the stimulation disturbs completely the relationship between the behavior and the EEG. When we look at the VDT, the visual discrimination task, we found that the stimulation increased the overnight performance of the task. That is to say that the people were doing better the task. This task is very interesting. Just to those who are not very related to this task, people need to identify like texture patterns in a screen, and this is getting faster and faster and faster. So when they are very good, they can really identify these patterns in a very fast way. So we found that the stimulation increased the performance of this task. Now, what happened with the EEG and the task? First, we found that the proportion of phasic REM, that's mean the proportion of REM, the time in REM where people is having like high density of saccades, is directly related to the performance of the task, the change of the performance of the task. And when we look at the EEG activity, the ERSP, we found that the increasing of beta activity was also related to the overnight change of the performance of the task. So that increasing of this beta activity here and was correlated to the task, whereas the decrease of activity didn't have like large effects on the performance. So what can we conclude from here? First, with our experiments, we corroborate that we could make any kind of acoustic stimulation to modulate REM sleep, not maybe in the time of REM, the time spent in REM, but mostly in the underlying mechanisms going there. We interestingly found that there were divergent outcomes of the cognitive performance. So basically, we have an increase of one of the tasks, the visual discrimination task, where a decrease of the mirror tracing tasks. And also, we believe that the decreasing of eye movement could serve as a mechanism of protection to prevent awakenings, but this is still very, very speculative. We need more experiments to try this. And finally, this is a very broad talk. We want to know what's happening with the VDT. And just take from the literature, we know that PGO waves are concurrent with saccades during REM. Then also the PGO waves have been proposed to be related to synaptic plasticities. And also we know that the stimulation during REM increases the density of auditory stimulation. Sorry, of the PGO wave density. So basically, and this is a very new paper. The Tameki et al. Demonstrated that REM sleep has more complementary patterns with non-REM sleep, where basically non-REM sleep was increasing plasticity, whereas REM sleep was kind of stabilizing learning. So it could be that with REM sound stimulation during REM, it could help to stabilize the visual memories, possibly by increasing the PGO density. But this is a very speculative hypothesis that we propose, and it needs to be further research. I would like to thank all people in NAPS Lab and in Kubrick. Thank you very much, and happy to hear about your thoughts.
Thanks for the excellent talk, Miguel. We have some questions. Let me just read them out. So the first one is from Karen. Isn't there literature that actually eye movements increase arousal threshold and it is decreased in tonic? Also, would you mean that increased PGO leads to fewer eye movements?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet. Yeah, basically, we know actually that in a spontaneous way, PGO waves are very related to saccades, eye saccades, and I'm not quite sure whether they're related to the arousals. I know that PGO waves could be also related to the as a response of any kind of visual stimuli, but not necessarily this stimuli leads to an arousal. Yeah.
The next question is from Aishwarya. What type of auditory stimulation was used? And are you going to perform more cognitive studies with varied stimulation types?
Yeah, I mean, we use a very simple protocol. Basically, it's a very short click of 50 milliseconds of peak noise. Yeah, that's the idea. We would like to know what's happening with other type of stimulations. But looking at previous literature with stimulation during sleep, we believe that auditory stimulation could be the best way to do it, because it's kind of not invasive, and also with also previous studies with non-REM sleep, the sounds are loud enough to not get the people awake, but to have a huge cortical response.
We have one more question from Karen. Do you think it could be that stimulations increased tonic REM and decrease phasic? So maybe the mirror tracing depends on the phasic, but the visual discrimination depends on the tonic.
Yeah, at the beginning I thought that, to be honest, but when with the stats, we found no difference sometimes pain on phases or tonic sleep. So basically, no, that's the answer for that.
Got it. Thanks. So if we have no more questions, and I think we're right on time, I'd like to thank the panelists again, and also for attending, and all the attendees for sitting through the session. That's about it. And please feel free to share information about this conference through your social media channels. And we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.